Hello again. It's day 5 of calculus. We're going to do transformation of functions to graphs, equations, and tables. So we're starting again. And we have our 4 letters A, B, C, D, and the absolute value of a function. And you've seen A before. A is outside the parentheses, and D is outside the parentheses, so they have vertical transformations. So let me move this over a little bit to the right. So these two are outside of f of x, which means they affect output or y values. And B and C are inside parentheses with x, which means they affect input or the x values. So when A is negative, it flips the x-axis. When B equals negative, it flips the y-axis. So A is a multiplier. It vertically stretches or compresses by A. D shifts things up and down. B, you got to be careful. We have to use the reciprocal of B. And C, we have to use the opposite of C. And if you have B and C together, it's negative C over B. Anything inside the parentheses with letter X is the inverse of what you see. So f of 2x is in a horizontal stretch of 2. It's a horizontal compression by a half. F of x plus 2 is not right 2, it's left 2. And the absolute value of the f of x makes all the y's non-negative, which is reflect above the x-axis. Everything gets flipped above the x-axis. Okay, these graphs are kind of small, so I'm going to do one at a time. So I see the letter C, and I see the letters D and C. It's not going to be right 4, it's going to be left 4, and D, well, outside the parentheses is going to be down 3. So these 5 dots I'm putting in black are the dots I'm going to move, and then I'm going to connect the dots. So left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, down 3. Left 4, down 3. Left 4, down 3. Left 4, down 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It's over this black dot. And I basically get the same looking graph that I had before, except it's been shifted. Sorry about that. Working with a stylus is not the easiest thing. Okay. That is the first graph. For the second graph, looks like I have A and C. C, I'm going to put it down here. A has a couple things going on. First, A is a flip over the X, but it's also a vertical stretch by 2, or 2 times all the y values. And C is going to be a right 3 this time. So again, these, I'm just going to put little black dots here at the 5 major points I want to look at. I'm going to change the color to purple. And first I'm going to take this guy here. I'm going to flip it over the x-axis so it goes down here. That's the flip. Then I'm going to multiply this y value. Y value of -3 times 2, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3. It's going to be here at -6. So this is the y times 2. And I'm going to move them right 3. 1, 2, 3. And here's my final dot, that big purple dot. Over from here to here is a flip. Times 2, and 1, 2, 3. There we go. Flip over the x. Times 2, right 3. 1, 2, 3. This is a flip. Times 2, 1, 2, 3. Flip over the x is down here. Times 2 is here, and 1, 2, 3. And I notice I have a lot of purple dots. I'm going to make the ones I want really big and purple. And I get this graph. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Oops. And then this graph, this one down here like this. It's definitely flipped upside down, probably twice as vertically big as before, and right 3. Okay, for this next one, I have the letters B and C. Remember, B and C have inverses effect, so B is a horizontal compression of a half, not stretched by 2. That means I take half the x values. And then it's left 2. It's not left 4. Remember, -c over b. -c over b. So I got -2, which is left 2. So I'm going to take this dot, go half the x, which is here, and then I'm going to go left 2, which is, get away from me, left 2, which is right here, half the x, left 2, half the x, left 2, half the x, left 2, and half the x, left 2. And I get this really skinny looking graph. That's been definitely horizontally compressed in half and shifted over a little bit. Okay, this last one is the weirdest one of them all, excuse me. We're going to have a b value, which is negative, which slips over the y-axis. And the absolute value makes everything that's below the x-axis flip above the x-axis. So I had to do these black dots on the x-axis because I need to pay attention to those. So this dot is going to flip over the y-axis and then has to be above. Well, it is above. This dot has to flip and stay above, and it is above. This dot right here, it's got to flip the y-axis and stay on the y-axis right here, or like at -1/2. This dot here has to flip the y-axis and then go above the x-axis. It's way up here. This dot's going to do the same thing, flip the y, go above. And then this one is going to flip the y, which is like -5.5. And then finally, this one's going to flip the y and stay above. And I don't know why this is always happening, but whatever. So I'm going to play connect the dots. It's going to look really weird. Look at my handwritten notes if you want to get a better look at it, but this is what it would look like. So playing with the equations is probably the easiest thing, where A and D are multiplying or being added to the function. B and C are changing the input values inside the parentheses. Again, inside affects input. So this is pretty basic. It's just going to be 2 times the given function. I get 2x squared minus 10x plus 8. This is going to be the given function. Then subtract 2. This next one changes the input and now becomes 2x quantity squared minus 5 times 2x plus 4 equals that. And this last one is probably the most difficult one because you're going to have to do some work. X minus 2 squared minus 5x minus 2 plus 4, which is x squared minus 4x plus 4. You should know how to do that quickly. Minus 5x plus 10 plus 4. I get x squared minus 9x plus 18. So manipulating the equations is probably, well, I thought it was a lot easier than manipulating those graphs. Now we're going to look at manipulating tables. So manipulating the table, you have to realize what you have. X is the top row. Those are the input values. The second row, f of x, are the output or the y values. And the rest of the table is really all y values. But you have to decide, am I changing x value? Am I changing y values? Or am I going to have to recalculate x values and see where the y values belong? So this very first one, 2f of x minus 2, is really just 2 times y minus 2. It is just changing y values. So it's very easy. It goes times 2 minus 2 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 times 2 minus 2. Pretty basic. The next one's just as easy. It just says negative y value. So all these y values here, changing all these y values. Negative 5, negative 1, 2, 7, 3, 0, negative 4, negative 7, negative 15. So you see in the first 2 rows, those y values are different than the given y values because the letters A and D were the transformations. They change output. Now the next row is going to be different. Is that because I see things inside the parentheses. That means I need to recalculate all my x's. So this x here is negative 4. So now it's going to be negative 6, but it's going to be f of negative 6. The answer isn't negative 6. It's f of negative 6. And then it's going to be f of negative 5, f of negative 4, f of negative 3, f of negative 2, and so on and so forth. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And what's going on here? So now I have to find the y values that belong in that square right now. So I would need to find f of negative 6. Well, there's no negative 6, so this is undefined. There is no negative 5, so this is also undefined. F of negative 4, where I come to negative 4, oh, that y value is 5. And it goes 1, negative 2, negative 7, negative 3, 0, and 4. If you pay close attention, this 5 that was here is now here. It is right too, just like what x minus 2 does to a graph. Next one, Again, I'm going to recalculate. And I get f of positive 4, f of positive 3, and down the road, f of negative 3, f of negative 4. So when I write this out, f of 4 is way over here. That's 15. That's 7. That's 4, 0, negative 3, negative 7, negative 2, 1, and 5. And this kind of makes it go, it reverses that whole row. Next line. Again, recalculate my x values. So I have to take half of this x, f of negative 2, f of negative 1.5, f of negative 1, f of negative 0.5, f of 0, f of 0.5, f of 1, f of 1.5, f of 2, and now I have to find the y values that belong in that square. Well, f of negative 2, that result is negative 2. F of negative 1.5, there is no negative 1.5 on this. Undefined. F of negative 1, negative 7, negative 0.5 is undefined. F of 0 is negative 3, undefined. 0, undefined, and 4. And when it's done, it's kind of horizontally stretched this table by 2. If you look at the center of the table, which is right here, 0 used to be 1 square away from the center. Now it's 2 squares away from the center. So the next 2 rows, I realize I have to recalculate x's because there's something inside the parentheses with the letter x. And I wrote it all out, and f of negative 8, not there. F of negative 6, not there. F of negative 4, oh, that's 5. Negative 2, negative 2, 0, negative 3, 2 is 4, 4 is 15. And these last 2 are undefined. And this has been a horizontal compression by a half. Here's the center of their table. 4, y equals 4 was 2 squares away from the center, and now it's 1 square away from the center. This one's very similar. It says f of 2x minus 4. I bet there's something that's going to be pretty close. So it's going to start off undefined, 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 undefined. I get to f of negative 4, and I get 5, negative 2, negative 3, 4, and 15. And if you look, it is compressed in half, but it's also right 2. How did I get right 2? Because it's 4 over 2. Very similar to what we had before. Finally, an easy row. So happy. Absolute value of f of x, absolute value of the y values. See this y row? Just make everything positive. Thank goodness, that was an easy row. And then finally, I'll move this up a little bit. I have to do a recalculation row again. I'll do, so I have to recalc my x's. This is saying the absolute value of the x. So instead of negative 4, it's f of 4, f of 3, f of 2, f of 1, and so on and so forth. And then f of 4 is over here. Well, these are all the same. So these are just going to be negative 3, 0, 4, 7, 15. But this says positive 4, so it's 15 like I had before. 3 is 7. F of 2 is 4, and f of 1 is 0. And you kind of get the symmetry look over the middle that these guys are the same, and so on and so forth. Okay, I know the table's some work. Please ask questions on Zoom. We can go over it I can put it up on the Zoom screen and we can work on it together. Thank you for listening.